DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Monster Energy, Esport Management, and GG Bet.
Welcome back to the DreamHack Open. We're coming to you live from the beautiful Tour France in the Loire Valley. And before the break, we saw the wonderful G2. We have to say they're wonderful because we're in France. They sent poor Ghost Gaming back home across the Atlantic, and they secure their place in the French derby against French Frogs later this evening. So stick around to check that one out. It's definitely going to get very heated. It's going to be très chaud. Now, coming up next, we've got Mouse trying to prove themselves against Windigo. We never really thought we were going to see them fighting for survival. We thought they were going to go straight through to Sunday, but Valiance, they had other ideas. Were you surprised by that result yesterday, Potter?
I definitely was. I mean, it was on Dust 2, and Valiance looked so good yesterday, so Mouse definitely struggled. But I gotta say, their T-side approach on Dust 2, although they lost 5-10 in that first half, it was still solid. They had the right ideas. It's just a little bit unlucky, I'd say.
Blair, do you think it's going to be a different result today?
Absolutely. I think Mousesports are the sort of team, like, I think everyone was surprised with the way Valiance played yesterday, right? They were really playing out of their minds. They're so far the best looking team in this tournament so far. But Mousesports, it's a best of 3. It's against Windigo, who, yeah, they won the game against Instinct, who are massive underdogs in this tournament. And even the wins, even though the scoreline looks pretty solid, I wasn't very convinced with some of those rounds coming in. It didn't look like the Windigo I was used to seeing before this tournament, right? So I think they're going to have the toss cut out for them. I think Mousesports should have a very comfortable time.
Well, let's remind ourselves of how we got here by taking a look at Group A.
Oh, there we go.
The Valiant sailing straight through, Mouse Windigo fighting to win that lower bracket to get through to tomorrow.
Yeah, for Windigo, I mean, obviously Valiant's beating Mouse and Windigo, who were, I wouldn't say Windigo were big favorites, but many people thought they'd probably make their way to the playoffs, right? And because of that thing, Valiant's waiting in the semifinals, and now one of these two teams have to go home, Mouse or Windigo. Now, if you're someone who's been following CS for even like a few months, you would know Mouse are obviously by far the favorites in this matchup, right? But what I'm excited about is for Windigo, even though they weren't like super convincing, so to speak, what I saw from them were pretty cool, like some very solid stuff. Even in interviews when they had with us, it was more like them saying, we just need to be stable, we need to calm down, we just need to control and play, well-paced game style. Problem is for Mouse, they have so many tricks in that playbook of theirs. Karrigan's gonna just like make things very confusing, very rough indeed. And even if you just look at pure firepower, apart from Ships and Poison, who have been doing their work, apart from that, the rest of Windigo, they haven't been that great, so to speak, when it comes to just individual prowess. But if you look at Mouse, just look at the names in the lineup.
They definitely haven't, but I mean, Poison, he started getting a little bit more in his comfort zone, I think, specifically on Overpass, and that is definitely an op-favored map, I think, and so that's why I think he was more mobile and finding picks, and he actually helped secure the win for sure for Windigo, so hopefully Poison finds a little more success in this BO3, because he has been faced with more BO1 since yesterday, so yeah, I think being a BO3 series and seeing more variety of maps for Poison specifically will be beneficial.
Well, let's head into the map veto and find out which way it's gonna go. Mouse, of course, we really don't know how strong their map pool is because it's still such early days for them.
Yeah, Mouse is the sort of team who likes going for these cheeky random picks where they just might catch someone off guard. A Vertigo ban coming out from Mouse makes complete sense, but the fact that the ban Vertigo means, are we gonna be seeing a surprise nuke coming out is a question. They tend to do this, Karrigan tends to do this, and Overpass pick from Windigo, absolutely standard, that's what they will always go for, but against Mouse, I think they're gonna find a much more tougher opponent.
Ooh.
That is a big surprise, and that's every team just looking at this map veto. Every team around the world going to be looking at this, going to be like, uh-oh, they play nuke.
I mean, well, they kind of have to, right? Specifically coming into this tournament with no cash and with Vertigo coming in a BO3 series, you can't risk not understanding the map nuke. And I gotta say, Windigo, although it was very scrappy, they were kind of everywhere, they still had some really cool set pieces. It reminds me of their lower bomb site. They went lower, they smoked off the bomb site, and they Molotov the top railing. I've never really seen that before. So they definitely have a good idea of what their game plan is gonna be. It's just a matter of cleaning it up a little bit. We heard Victor in that interview speaking of structure. So cleaning it up a little bit, and that'll definitely help them make sure that Victor doesn't land on top of enemies' heads through that connector.
Looking at the final map, though, if you look at Inferno, that is a map. If it goes to map number 3, I kind of feel like Windigo might have a sliver of a chance here. I think Inferno as a map is something I haven't been too convinced with Mouse about the way they play about that map, but those first 2 maps are going to be a pain. Because let's be honest, yes, Windigo are good on Overpass, but you got to look at the caliber of the teams they faced off against. Generally, these are the tier 2 teams, the tier 2 EU teams they play against, where they wouldn't be facing much of a challenge. Mouse is a different breed altogether.
I got to disagree with you on that Inferno. I thought Mouse's Inferno looked so good. I mean, they definitely knew their strengths, and their strengths are getting in the faces, making space, and listening to those audibles and making those calls, and it definitely worked out really well for them. And they have such a nice set piece from Kerrigan.
It was against Instinct.
Instinct, though. Yeah, they won 16-4.
And the problem with Instinct, what I saw from the way they were playing, were like the thing with Mousesports, they were dictating the pace of what was happening in Inferno. And the problem with Instinct was they seemed like chickens without heads, right? Just headless chickens running around. They were over-rotating and whatnot. What Windigo mentioned in the interview was we need to just calm things down, take it slow and steady, and we should be able to do that. And whatever Mouse were throwing at Instinct yesterday, I don't think it's necessarily going to click for Windigo.
Can we just admire the fact that Chris J is rocking the flamingo jacket? I think Mouse are actually one of the trendiest teams in esports.
I mean, he's got a mouse pad as well. Woxic, looking a little serious, surprisingly. He is one of the more passionate players in the scene, right? I remember watching him with Issa in Hellraisers, and how Issa is kind of like this super optimistic, bubbly guy, and you see Woxic when he loses a round or something, he gets so frustrated, right? And Issa's there to kind of like, it's all right, bro, it's okay, it's completely fine. But it's really cool to see him, gel with this team right now, especially with this guy at the helm.
Because of Hellraisers, though, I really associate Issa and Voxic together, so it's kind of a bit sad that they've got broken up. I'm kind of not over it yet.
Yeah, it is really sad, but I mean, Woxic is definitely finding his rhythm within this lineup in this project, right? I mean, yesterday we saw some insane flick shots from Woxic, and so, yeah. Definitely need to see some more of that from him today.
Well, I just want to remind viewers, because I'm really excited about Nuke, okay? The last time that Mouse played Nuke, the one time we've seen them play, it was against NIP, and they got 10 rounds on their T side, which surprised me. But then on their CT side, they only got 3 CT rounds. NIP managed to outplay them on their own T side. Yeah. And so I'm kind of curious about what we're going to see, because surely Mouse may be holding something back.
Absolutely. See, getting 10 rounds on a T-side against a team like NIP is no small feat at all, right? And the thing with that game is, I was actually having chat with Kerrigan right before this game, and he was talking about how NIP caught them off guard and how they're playing really, really well. And NIP NIP is a sort of team who, on a good day, can take down some of the best teams in the world, right? And that they do really, really looking good. So I don't think we can really read too much into that particular matchup, so to speak. But the 10 rounds on a T-side, that's what I want to focus on, the positives, right? And if they can replicate that against Windigo, Windigo's going to be having a rough time.
And they've seen Windigo play it now. I imagine they were watching that series earlier, so they've seen them play Nuke. So surely Mouse have got the upper hand, because Windigo can't have been expecting Nuke.
Oh, they definitely were watching. I mean, Woxic, his Wi-Fi kind of went down, so he came into our green room and was even watching the match from there. So yeah, they're definitely studying it, and I'm sure they've tweaked their game plan coming into this series.
Interesting. So with that in mind, are we thinking that Windigo are going to be able to step things up and win on Overpass, their map pick, Blair?
That's a hard question, right? Like, if you look just at the way they play the map, I really enjoy watching Windigo and Overpass. They have such a dynamic CD side. They force the teams to take map control and whatnot. But the problem is Kerrigan's team is, I mean, Mousesports are pretty damn good in Overpass as well. They're pretty damn decent. And like I said, they do play against a higher caliber of opponents all the time. So you really can't just rely purely on the numbers when it comes to the map wins and losses on that map for Mousesports, right? I think it's going to come down. I don't want to sound like a broken record or like a cliched statement, but if you look at the players on these two lineups, it's been mainly Ships and Poison who's been stepping up. Poison, again, blowing hard or cold, depending on which map it is, but Ships has been really a rock for this team. Apart from that, the rest of them have had their moments here and there, but there's no consistency when it comes to the firepower. The problem when it comes to Mousesports is because of, you have Chris J, you got Woxic, you got Frozen, and I'm forgetting a name here. for Mousesports, we have Carrigan, obviously, and...
Robs?
Robs, obviously. How am I forgetting Robs?
How can you forget Robin Cool?
Mr. Robin Cool, right? When you have these soldiers in your lineup, there's so many avenues that open up. You want to play aggressive, sure, great. You want to shut down a site single-handedly, keep walks and put an op over there. You want to like float around and be a problem for your opponents, make Chris J run around with the op, get opening picks and whatnot. So many avenues available for Mousesports to abuse. So even I'm going to be predicting this, right? Depending on whichever map's going to be played out, even though it might get a little iffy in the beginning, it's going to be Mouse who's going to adapt better. And these two players, Potter, you chose these two guys, Frozen and Ships, the two guys to watch for here.
For sure. I mean, these are the two youngest players on their respective teams, and Frozen is one of the youngest players in this tournament, being only 16. And so I chose these two guys because they have been a little bit more quiet. Frozen, we saw some missed shots from him yesterday, and not the best superstar performance that everyone's kind of expecting from the young talent. But yeah, and Ships, as you mentioned, Blair, he is the rock for Windigo, but he hasn't had those impact moments on his squad, and so that's what I'm kind of looking for today.
There was a quiet day for Frozen yesterday, and I'm kind of wondering what needs to be done to activate him, because he is such an important part of this roster. He takes him to that extra level, and we're going to see him do fantastic things with the team, but is he going to do them today?
Well, I mean, we saw Neptune do it earlier. He's a 16-year-old kid as well, right? I mean, if he could do it, I think Frozen can as well. And the cool thing is there's no pressure for him. I mean, look at the players in that team of his, right? All he needs is to be set up and be comfortable, and they've been playing together for a decent amount of time right now. So I personally don't think I would, if I was Carrigan, if I was any of the players in the team, I would put no pressure on Frozen. I'd just set him up where he wants to play and let him grow as a player. And events like these are where these younger players coming into a tier 1 lineup or a tier 2 lineup would be looking to really blossom and grow as an individual before they have to play some of the bigger events like the minors coming up, right? So you want to use this event as kind of like a platform to launch off.
Now, I think I speak for all of us when I say that we all think that Mousesports are going to win, but what do our casters think? Dust and Vince, hello. Oh, we've had a shirt change from Vince. How are you doing?
Yes, it would be a bit weird if I still had my red shirt on from yesterday.
It might not be. I love that. I associate you with that shirt, but also you're like matching today. It's amazing. If you give that vest to Dust, he'd have a 3-piece suit.
There you go.
But we actually have to speed off because I believe that we are ready to get into this game. But have a fantastic time, because I know we will.
Oh, thank you so much, Frankie. We appreciate you. But yeah, so we got ourselves a nice little game coming here between Windigo and Mousesports, and I don't think it's as clear-cut as people are going to think it is. Like, obviously, on paper, Mousesports looks like the more promising team, but we've seen Windigo go toe-to-toe with some of the elite teams in the world between, the EPL group they just played, WESG, a couple other online tournaments. We've seen them play to qualify for this event in Dallas, and so they're not a force to kind of overlook. I think that they are going to be able to bring a lot here in this game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the issue is that they kind of rotate so heavily off the proviso of Ships or Poison playing well that there's a lot of keys to success, I think, for Windigo to come out here. And let's be honest, yesterday they did look pretty poor from what we saw. I mean, sure, Mousesports didn't exactly set the world on fire either.
Right.
Yes, they breezed past Instinct 16-4, expected them to win that one. But I think both of these teams, honestly, coming into this game, have a point to prove. And the best of 3 is the best landscape to see what they can do.
But I mean, here's the thing. The first map is Overpass. That is a map that Windigo is undefeated on offline. They are 8-0, and that includes beating teams like Navi, like North, like Fnatic, like Made in Brazil. They're beating, top 5, top 20 teams in the world on a regular basis. They feel very at home in Overpass, and Mousesports is still a very young team. They haven't really played much Overpass, just a couple of games. They're 1-1 right now, so it's still very early days on understanding exactly how good of a team they're going to be on that map. Their only win is over a struggling Optic team. So I think that this is the map where Windigo must win. I feel like if they're going to win the series, this is definitely a home map for them. They should feel very confident coming in, and that means Mousesports has to weather that storm. The pressure is on this team to perform, given what we saw at Sydney and given what the lineup looks like on paper. So let's see if they're up to the task.
So obviously, coming into this best of 3, as you say, Mousesports will be favourites, although we do have a little bit of reservation to do with that. For Windigo, we touched on Ships and Poison. Are there any more heavy hitters in that team that you'd like to highlight or that we should be cognizant of?
I think they all frag about the same outside of those two. I think like Victor, at times, he's usually their entry fragger. At times, he can really pop off if he's having a good game and really create a lot of openings for the team. Bubble and Blocker at times also can really pitch in. I guess Blocker would be like the other one outside of Victor that might be able to contribute. Usually, again, they all kind of frag within the same realms outside of whoever pops off between Ships and Poison. Those are definitely the 2 stars, but everyone else I would say are like slightly above average. They're pretty decent. They're going to get their numbers. They're not going to be a burden. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I think coming into Overpass in particular, as you say, this is a real important map for Windigo.
Sure.
If they lose this, it's pretty much done. And I remember going way back when obviously the roster was different. You go back to the Mortal Kombat days, the G-Play days, the Bulgarians when they were playing with different rosters. Overpass was a map that we saw them have some success on in the past in different iterations. In terms of this 5-core roster, where do you see them coming down on Overpass? Where are their strengths?
I mean, it's
and
by
weaknesses?
far their best map, and again, they're undefeated, including in beating elite-level teams. I mean, I think the crazy thing is the ramp-up for this team has been so fast. It really only started back in March, so it's only been a few months that this team has really been internationally relevant. Before that, you know, they played at the last European minor, but got beat out pretty quickly, so they weren't really turning heads, but I feel like that WESG performance back in March is what really got them on the map. They, you know, were able to take a map off Fnatic, beat Made in Brazil, beat G2, they won the whole tournament, and then at this last EPL group, yeah, they came dead last, but they took maps off of Navi and Fnatic, and they were very competitive in every single map that they played. And then, yeah, they qualified for this event over Valiant. They, you know, qualified for Dallas beating teams like Big and Avangard and G2. So they, within really just the last 2 months, have been putting up performances that make you kind of wonder a bit. I mean, they've already kind of jettisoned themselves into kind of the top 15 realm. I think right now, I'm not exactly sure what their pure number is, but I know it's somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I definitely think that would be a fair statement to make. We're seeing a lot more tournaments, doing much better online. Typically, their issues have been, though, they perform well online. They kind of had this title of the onliner team for quite some time, especially when they were G-Play in Mortal Kombat, where they do all these crazy results. They come to LAN, they just get banged out, wouldn't even win a map.
Right.
Do you feel like they're turning a corner there, or are they still kind of in that realm?
Yeah, and it feels like Poison's really the catalyst for it. I mean, he has been such a great opper, and I think that, you know, he's kind of like really the next one coming out of that country. Obviously, Cirque over Energy was kind of the first, you know, person that we saw, and I really feel like Poison has potential to perhaps even be better than Cirque given enough time. Definitely has looked really impressive, and Chips has also turned the corner as well. He was fantastic at WESG. He's been on the team a little bit longer than Poison, but he's only really recently started doing things at big LAN tournaments. So those two are really the driving force of this team, and really the pressure's on Mousesports actually coming into this tournament. And I was talking to Kerrigan actually earlier today. We had a little chat for about half an hour. It's cool kind of getting to the pick and prod his brain a little bit and learn a little bit about his mindset. And he said that they signed up for this tournament specifically because they knew that they should win. And he's like, I want to see how my players handle the pressure of being a team that's supposed to win and how they are able to deal with that. He's like, that's the whole reason why I came to this tournament. And I think that's neat. That's a great little concept to kind of start thinking about, you know, the mentality of his players. Obviously, some of them very young and inexperienced, particularly Frozen, and figuring out how they tick.
No, absolutely. As you said, Frozen. What have your thoughts been about him? Because there was a lot of stir and there's a lot of hype building around him in the pickup. There was a bit of well, actually, hold that thought for a second, because we do have some technical issues. So we'll get back to this once we get back from a break, guys. We're going to head there very shortly. Hopefully, all these problems will be fixed momentarily. Stay tuned.
Breathing hard, never breathing loosen up. And if you loosen up, loosen up right away. Loosen up, you should be.
And welcome back. As promised, a short technical break, but we should be alive and rearing to go in our first map overpass between Mousesports and Windigo. I think this definitely has the makings of the game of the day, Dust. I think this could be a phenomenal best of 3. I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping it's close.
Yeah. I mean, we're expecting at least fireworks, right? I mean, you have some really skilled players and Ships and Poison going against a load of talent over at Mousesports, and both these teams feature a very aggressive, fast-paced play style across their map pools. So we're going to see, I would expect a lot of quick contact, a lot of early round duels, and so therefore you can see some really exciting plays unfurl in a matchup like this. But here we go. Windigo starting out on that T side. All their forces focused towards the playground. Frozen, a forward position. Taking a look, does spot them and just backs off. So they will concede a little bit of ground. This is a bit of a fake, though, I think. 3 are going long, but there's still 1 outside B, and the bomb is not committal. So they could easily pressure this and then float back through connector through bathrooms.
They are floating back through bathrooms now to connector. As you highlighted, easy kill for Chris J, finding Ships out in the open. That may give them second thoughts about their rotation through connector. Knowing that Chris J has this locked down. Poison gonna put out the feelers onto A site. Nothing's clicked just yet, but Voxic's hammer of his P2000 connects between the eyes. And Windigo find themselves 2 players down with a minute to spare. Dinks are connecting though. Chris J and Voxic both low alongside Rops. On the cross, Carrigan needs to land some frags. Not going to be happening. It's labored. He runs out of bullets, and the kills are now going the way of the Bulgarians. The HP now favoring them, but Rops is going to get the drop onto Victor, leaving it all on blocker. He's got the bomb planted, but no round will be forthcoming. Mousesports will get the defuse.
Yeah, very dominant round for Mousesports. Victor had a couple of kills there on the B bomb side that gave you a little bit of hope, but Rops was really quick on that short B flank to kind of be the final nail in the coffin of that pistol. Good round in theory from Windigo. I like the idea of trying to throw the pressure and then fading back through connector for a B split. Just didn't quite work out. Chris J and company were wise to it and dealt the headshots quite nicely. Worth noting, as we start getting into some buys soon, Windigo is a very B-heavy team, by the way. They hit B more often than not. I can't put like an actual percentage on it, but certainly a really high amount. So definitely, I'm sure that's something that Mousesports is going to be aware of. But one of the interesting things about the B-bomb side is Mousesports have changed a lot of their CT spots up with this lineup. On some of the other maps, they kept things the same, but this is a map where they've probably changed spots the most. So actually, Rops and Chris J have been playing B together. So because they're kind of in new positions, they're going to have to, deal with a lot of pushes, because they wanted to make sure Frozen was comfortable playing A. Obviously, your Opper is usually going to be pretty A-heavy, which is Voxic, and then Kerrigan likes to be kind of the rotator that floats between the sites. So I'm going to be curious to see how Chris J and Rops kind of handle new CT positions on Overpass against a really well-seasoned Overpass team who, again, have an 8-0 record, have beaten elite teams on this map time and time again, and again, who favor that side of the map on their attack.
Uh-oh, we're seeing some headsets taken off. Never a great sign.
Well, I just gave the scouting report to Mousesports then, apparently, if they didn't already know.
So let's get back onto that point that we were discussing just before we cut to a break about Frozen. How do you feel like he stepped into the shoes? Because there were some question marks, a very young talent, as you highlighted.
Oh, absolutely. I think whenever this lineup came together, that was the X factor. That was like the one thing where you're like, I feel the ceiling of the team will rely on him, because we knew that Voxic could be a really strong player. We knew that Chris J and Rops were capable. We knew Kerrigan was an in-game leader that could bring direction to this team that was very much in need of it after some of the struggles they had towards the end of last year and into this year. But Frozen was a guy we knew that would be given star roles, and we knew that, was quite young and flashy and could really be a good fragger, but was he going to gel with this team, and was Kerrigan going to make the most use of him and be able to kind of rise him up? And he did quite well in Sydney, so far all signs point to a positive direction. But here we go. Windigo now obviously just going to take a small buy, and Voxic will put one between the eyes of Victor right away.
Peace.
Easy.
Just sat down. Windigo half buy into the round. Voxic gonna find 3 all headshots with the AUG. Easy enough. Money in the bank towards his AUP fund. Ships and Bubble, both with Deagles. Still have some firepower. Bubble's rattled off the head of Carrigan, but Voxic now on for the ace. Just Bubble stands between him and that Accolade. He is backing away, looking for the bomb, which is back in T-side of Connector. So he's got a fair run ahead of him. Does have time on his side, but pretty much everything else is stacked against him.
That's certainly the case. He might be able to get back to that bomb and try to run it through long B, but I imagine that the connector player, which I believe is Rops with the UMP, would be able to get there fast enough. And actually now he is watching the Monster Cross. So Mousesports have everything covered. They should be good to go. And really, Windigo are probably just using this to maybe chat a little bit. I don't really think Bubble's hoping for much. He's just hoping maybe someone pushes him, he gets a free kill, perhaps collects a gun to save. But the reality is that we're just kind of wasting a little bit of time.
Exactly. No reason for Mousesports to push, knowing it's against the Deagle. Don't want to lose more players, more armor and weapons, because their economy's not in great shape. And on the other side, Windigo hoping, praying for an opportunity, but also, as you highlighted, can use this as a mini timeout, just to rummage together some ideas as to what will come up in the next round. They will have a bye, regardless. Bubble now has the bomb, but he is looking to save.
It's a little late for that, Bubble.
Indeed. It's all well and good getting the bomb, but the round is completely over.
I'm not sure if he was hoping that he could find a fallen gun or something like that, but not going to be the case. So we will just float over to the next round. Seeing Voxic on camera there, one of the few professional players that use a left-handed mouse.
That's a good point. Very high sensitivity as well.
Yes. I think it has come down over time. I think he's kind of learned that he needed to trickle it on down a little bit, and he has. But now we have the first full buy from Windigo. Again, a very B-heavy team, so I expect to see that a lot. But also, this is one of the few maps where they play default a bit more than fast-paced CS. Every other map, they're a very loose, scrappy team. But on this map, they do tend to play a little bit slower. The big thing is they don't really have set roles. You'll see various different players playing outside the B-bomb site throughout this half. This round, I believe it's blocker, but sometimes it can be ships. So that's the weird thing about Windigo. They don't really have established roles. They just rely on gathering together and just playing scrappy CS. Usually Victor the one leading the charge, with others following him up. And that's exactly what this round looks like it's going to be, as you do see them starting the stage outside this B-bomb site.
As you highlighted on the build-up to this match, B is certainly a site that Windigo will try and press time and time again. Setting it off early. Flashbangs starting to connect on either side. Just shy of a minute to play with, and Carrigan's getting info down into Connector.
Yeah, they know this. The Mousesports has a scouting report. They know what Windigo like to do. They know they can sometimes really leave Connector open in the late round and really focus on short B, so Carrigan knows he's safe to make this flank work.
Beautiful timing as well, as the grenade was out for Bubble. No chance to return fire. But the frag's now going the way of Windigo. Frozen and Voxic stand. They've been smoked out of heaven. They're going to be looking for a boost over Graffiti. Bomb will get planted with the Orc. Can they connect some headshots? There's no need for Windigo to go peeking. They may want the information, though, as to where both these players currently reside. But with that drop down for Voxic, that should give some of this away to the player in water, which is Victor. Now, with Voxic's death, Frozen can't hope to do anything. He's going to save, and Windigo will get on the board.
That's always got to be a tough pill to swallow for your Mousesports, where you have literally the perfect read in positioning. Kerrigan with a fantastic flank actually gets the opening kill on the exchange. You already have a couple players on the B site. People are, starting to rotate from the A side, which is very fast rotate. That's one of the trademarks of Overpass, is how quick you can get between the sites as a CT. It just doesn't matter, though. That's the perfect summation of Windigo. Brute force. Even if you have the read, if Victor pops off, gets a couple of clean entries, causes a distraction, allows his star players to have space like ships, you're going to be able to trade frag your way at times, even if the CTs are in the right place.
Beautiful entries there. Didn't quite see them from Ships' perspective. Onto water and connector. Now the tide's turning economically. Mousesports are into a force. 4 Orgs, a Deagle, some grenades, but not too much to play with. And it may be a fast hit here, does.
Yeah, of course. Windigo knows that the Mouse do not have the utility to stop a push like this, but Rich J's AUG might be up to the task, at least for one.
Rob smoked out, having to back away into water. They're going to be funneling their way. No, not the bomb in first. Why? Why would you push the bomb in first now? Rob's has a positional advantage and can stall long enough for his rest of this team to get into position, but they're a bit slow. They're not quite there. I was expecting a player on short already, or maybe to be pushing from Graffiti.
And Frozen has them cut off. They have to commit to B now unless they run all the way back through Monster and spawn. He's basically the safety net to allow these 2 players to keep focusing on the B push. Poison and Bubble, they have the 1 Molotov. That's all they really have to use to try to push into the site. They will use it in a good spot. It stops Kerrigan from being able to freely peek. allows them to secure the site and get the bomb planted, but now they have to defend against a retake against 3 players. They have a disadvantage here, but at least both of these guys have AKs.
Exactly, and it was looking so much worse when the bomb got dropped, but now they've managed to stabilize. One Desert Eagle, not needed. Voxic with a spray on that Org. We saw what he could do in round number 2, and now it's down to Bubble. 1-on-3, carves out the head of Frozen at the cost of 96 health. One bullet finalizes this for Mousesports, and they're gonna hold down. The call would have come through with a headshot. They feel like it stands to reason this peak will not come in. Mousesports will get a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, a lot of credit given to Rops. He used Windigo's utility against him, just lurking behind the smoke, and he got gifted a great opportunity when that bomb took a hard tumble into the water. As we look at it now, definitely not where you want your bomb carrier to go. Definitely don't want it to drop in that position. Want to use those smokes to get it into the site, and so Rops kind of just builds off of a mistake from Windigo. It's really helpful. Obviously, their economy was low, so it's great to get that victory. And again, Windigo's not going to change their game plan. They are very focused on short beat control within the first 30 seconds of most rounds. And now that Mousesports has pushed out long A all the way, they have all this information. They can start to make those rotations. You already see it happening with Kerrigan, who's in heaven already with 2 players already on B site. Now he drifts down towards Graffiti. So again, they're perfectly set up for this.
Speed presence starting to work against Windigo perhaps, but the entries are going their way. Rops ducks down, the bomb has been dropped again, and Rops is lighting up the site with his AK-47, dulling the senses of Windigo, and they are shut out pretty comprehensively in the end. And this is where you have to question, has Kerrigan done his homework? Does he realize how often they hit B?
I would say it's a good 70% of the time, so Kerrigan's certainly aware of that. I know he's done his homework. And that means to me either Windigo are going to have to brute force their way through the reads of Mousesports, or they're going to have to start changing it up. Now, they do have some fast 1-4 players on the A-bomb side that they can run, and once they get Poison and Op, maybe you give them some time over towards Fountain to start working some picks over towards A and kind of alleviate some of the rotations that are happening at B and open it up for later in the game. But I'll say this, Windigo don't have a crazy deep playbook on this map. Again, they rely on a scrappier style and rely on what they're comfortable with. So it's going to be hard for them to make adjustments, I think.
Timing not on Blocker's side. Chris J opens the door and closes the life. Should be pretty easy pickings, though. It's just Desert Eagles across the board for Windigo. Yeah, we'll have to see how well they adapt to this. And perhaps if we get another couple of rifle rounds go against them, we may see a tactical timeout implemented just to rummage together some ideas.
I mean, the thing is, they're capable of playing normal 3-1-1 defaults and just kind of working slow on A, putting the smokes down and getting to the site. They definitely have a capable Opera and Poison who can get them openings at those long-range duels you're going to get on the A side. It's just they're most comfortable controlling short B early and running that into B splits. They do have an Op on Poison now. I think it's the first time this game he's had one. So they might want to slow it down and give him a chance to work it over towards A. That's exactly what it's looking like. But look at Frozen. No fear.
That flashbang perfectly accompanies the push, and it's 3 kills. That is so slick from Mousesports.
I'm surprised he can walk that fast with stones that big. He's just dragging him across the ground, trying to get over on that smoke, and he finds 3. He definitely had some good utility assistance, though. That wasn't just some brainless play. He definitely had the support to make that work. And it was the perfect call at the right time.
Really is, because they know that Windigo they're reeling after getting comprehensively battered away on B a couple of rounds. We're obviously just talking over Bubble because it's the 1-on-5. He's been spotted, he's been tagged up heavy, even though he will take Voxic with him. Any extra casualties will be the cherry on top. It does get 2, so not bad. But yeah, that is such a good call. Knowing that Windigo were caught in their own minds, like, what do we do? That totally takes them out their comfort zone.
I guarantee you Kerrigan had a read on the economy and knew that this is Poison's chance with an Op. They're going to try to do something towards A. Let's throw our smoke over the wall. Let's get in their face. And, oh, you wanted to make an adjustment? Well, guess what? That's not worked either. So now what do? Your B plays aren't working. We have you red there. Now you try to do something standard. We stopped you. Now you have to be more cautious as you approach the playground. You're not going to get that space for free at Fountain. And this looks so hard for Windigo, man. I don't know a way out of this. I feel like Kerrigan's calling the perfect game right now on the CT side. He has, again, a really good idea of what to expect, and he's dealt with pretty much every card that Windigo has, other than Windigo just still brute forcing their way through the over-rotation. I'm not really sure what else they can do. Maybe you try another default round like that and give Poison another chance to try to find something with the AWP and just hope that they don't run into the crazy rush at you like that. But outside of that, it's hard to know, man, because I've watched pretty much every Overpass game Windigo has played, and they don't have that many elaborate plays. Again, just very reliant on trade fragging together.
Hence the tactical timeout. Going to figure this one out. I think there has been a water spill on Carrigan's desk. Wants to just clean that one up. Yeah, Windigo definitely have their work cut out for them here if they want to bounce back. And this was the map, Dust. This is the one they need.
Yeah.
Nuke's coming up next. It's not going to get any easier for them.
I mean, neither team are known for Nuke, to be honest. So to me, that's a coin flip. But when you thought about Windigo, you knew Overpass was their top map. Again, I've seen them beat teams like Navi on that map in an offline environment. They've beaten other top 10 teams in the world on Overpass on a pretty consistent basis. They're undefeated on LAN on this map with, a decent amount of games played. So for them to be struggling this much this early on their pick is definitely not a good sign.
Suppose at the back of their minds, though, it's not panic stations just yet. The easier of the sides is yet to come on CT, but 6-1, no doubt this is a great foundation that Mousesports have built for themselves. It will be a half buy on the side of the Bulgarians.
Just trying to put their utility at B. They haven't mollied barrels ever, by the way, so they're trying to add that in, but Kerrigan's just facing them up close. He's already found one.
Feels pretty comfortable with Rops having his back covered from Pillar. That Org will spray down too, stopping the push in his tracks. He's going to get some more momentum built up, but Rops will come in once again. A swift 4K for the Estonians.
Listen, if they're going to keep hitting B, which is fair enough, that's their comfort zone, you got to use your utility better. I feel like Rops has been way too comfortable in that B bomb side. He's never been pushed into awkward space. He's used Windigo smokes against them. He's never been mollied out of position at barrels. He's always been able to hold that whenever he's wanted to. I feel like he has so much freedom, and they need to figure out a way to make them uncomfortable if they're going to keep trying to hammer away at this B bombs. Otherwise, you're just running the head up against the wall. Here goes the fast short B control, but Mousesports is pushing it as well. This could be an exchange. Oh my goodness. I just can't get much worse than
It's
this.
so one-sided as well. The first 3 picks in 10 seconds going the way of Mousesports. Windigo can't catch a break.
I feel like I'm witnessing a crime, Vince. Should we report this to someone? I don't want this to be the bystander effect. Like, I feel like they need help.
Need to connect to the server. 7v5 will probably still get
Someone
wrecked.
call 911 and someone find an AED.
Maybe Poison and Bubble can break themselves out these shackles. Or perhaps not. Rops is having a blinder. 12-3. Make it 13-3. He's not showing any signs of slowing down.
I mean, I hope that Windigo has cooked up some secret strat in practice this week. Because, again, from my knowledge of them, I don't know what adjustments they even have to handle this. And they need to figure out something fast. It's not going to come this round, obviously. Just the Eagles, no utility. I think you just run the 3-1-1 again and just hope Poison actually gets out with the op and finds something. I think that's all you can really do now. The problem is you're going up against Voxic, who's so comfortable playing this map with an AWP.
And just so comfortable playing aggressively.
Yeah.
Which is really where I find Orping is at its pinnacle on Overpass. These fast long peaks or through mids. Chris J chipping in with another kill. It is against pistols, of course. And Frozen gonna get one and finish off Ships, who was tagged up from Carrigan. Has spotted Victor, the last player on Rock, and it's looking like it's gonna be another clean sweep for Mousesports.
It's been too easy for them, man. You got 3 players at 95 ADR or better for Mousesports right now. Everyone's playing perfectly well. No one from Windigo's really shown us much. Their Stars and Chips and Poison have not really had many opportunities. Victor's not finding those openings anymore. Another timeout needs to be coming in, I imagine. They do have the money here to get an AWP to Poison. I think you just need to figure out a way to set him up. You need to figure out a way to get him towards that playground and actually get some peeks onto the party and fountain area and then work A. I think that's what you got to do. I think B's closed right now. They can't. The thing is, Windigo, even if they don't always hit B, they almost always go for short B control in the early portion of the round. They really love doing that. And I feel like Mousesports has either made that useless by saying, okay, you get that, but you can't actually get into the site. And then the last time they tried to go for short B control, hell, they got pushed and they lost 3 players in the first 5 or so seconds that they were in short B. So I feel like B is just not the answer. I think that Kerrigan's rotations have been perfect. I think Rops and Chris J are too comfortable. You got to get this op from Poison somewhere. But actually, they're just going to go for AKs and full utility again. Maybe a better utility hit on B can work with better Molotovs. I'm not really sure, but now they have to deal with connector pressure.
I think they're realizing with all this aggression that Mousesports has been showing, if they just play like an anti-eco almost strat, maybe Mousesports will walk into the Voxic. Nearly had time to strike again. Frozen's not helping him out, and Poison will double up. Much better, one of the better starts we've seen from Windigo, and it just got even sweeter. Blocker finds Chris J out in the open. This leaves it on Rops and Kerrigan. Rops has been having a sterling effort thus far. Gonna be called upon once again, Dust.
It feels like this is one of those rounds where Mousesports are trying to see how much can we get away with. Like, where do we hit the wall? Like, where's the limit? And they found it. Poison and company catching that connector push. That's the one thing about Poison. He's not just a pure AWP. He's very capable rifle. And in fact, Windigo likes running 5 rifle setups on the T side, particularly on this map and Inferno. So definitely in good hands. He will now pick up an op, of course, that's fallen. And now they're just working B. Just 2 CTs left. But, I mean, it's still possible for Mousesports. Rops is still here.
It certainly is. He doesn't write them off just yet, and he's been a stalwart of these barrels. Fighting off more than he can chew. Don't face Karrakin one by one. He's got an AUG. This is where his weapon is so deadly, and Poison, who kicked it off with the AK, now going to have to use his primary to finish off this round. Trajectory of the Molotov tells Karrakin he's behind the site. He's going to use the smoke to his advantage. Karrakin's got it done! The clutch is a reality, and Mousesports will break the hearts once again of Windigo. That had to be their round.
I don't know what Windigo expects to get to be able to win a round. Like, that was on a silver platter for you. It doesn't get easier than this. It's a 4-on-2. Just clear barrels. Like, they didn't even check it. Rops gets a kill for free, and then, yeah, they just face Kerrigan 1 by 1. It's now 10-1. The future's so grim for Windigo right now, man. They're not showing us anything.
And even in the chances that they've had, they've stumbled at the last hurdle. I mean, even getting 4 or 5 rounds on T side isn't the end of the world. It's really been the manner in which this score has come to fruition that worries me. Incredibly one-sided.
Look at this. Mousesports have controlled Fountain every single round. They have always been able to push someone long A or someone Fountain, get the information, and get the third person B before Windigo even starting to think about hitting the site. And now we got a little bit of a boost action going here. Christian with the auto sniper gets caught, though. He was out in the open.
Yeah, Rops was flashed. He couldn't help him out. The pillar was in the way. Rops last man standing on B. Much better. The Bulgarians bounce back.
Do they lose another 4-on-2, though, Vince? That's the scary part.
Surely not this time.
All right.
Frozen does have the flank coming into effect. They've got plenty of nades.
Yeah, I think they're just holding for exits at this point. I don't even think Mouse is going to go for it. They have plenty of money to throw at this if they wanted to. Force some rebuys out of Windigo, but content just to sit back and see if guns come to them, which one does indeed float the way of Frozen, excuse me, by the way of Poison.
There's no time, as you highlighted. Dwindles away. They do get an exit frag. It's going to put more pressure on Windigo. Now they are going to no longer be thick in the loss bonus. Or at least consecutive ones. And a second round will be yielded.
Yeah, it felt like it was just kind of gifted to them, though. Chris J just kind of caught way out in the open on Heaven trying to do something fancy through the wall. And then finally they caught Rops at barrels for what feels like the first time this entire game. Back to the 5 rifle setup is Windigo. Plenty of utility and armor as well to go around. Just a few rounds left in this half, and if Windigo can win out, maybe there's some hope for them. But I feel like this is where Mouse is probably going to tighten up their play. Or not. Or Vosic will just push short B with an op. Reasonable.
And that was always a silver lining. It's like, yes, we're getting pummeled, but we can still bounce back. They're going to line up. Chris J, though, backs them down with the AUG. He looks second favorite. Stood his ground, though, till the bitter end. And gets Mousesports all even at 3 apiece. Still loads of time. Windigo could change the tune and go towards A if they so chose.
Indeed, they could. That bomb's in connector. They still do have one over towards Party. They're aware of one at Monster, obviously, because of the fire bubble put out there, but now he's retreating. Lots of time. A is actually pretty open right now. Mousesports is focusing 2 of their players on short B for information and perhaps even try to run down Bubble. Poison actually does take down Kerrigan, so now the advantage to Windigo. They still have 1 creeping long A as well. Rot's still distracted at B. He's still feeling this pressure at short. He can't rotate. As more and more time passes, A becomes more and more open, and a flank through B actually could happen here. This long player blocker, he could get behind. He sees A is entirely clear, and they could split B through spawn.
That's what they're looking for, but with that smoke, it's going to bait Frozen into assuming that this is a B hit because of how often they've gone there. Now they're going to start to realize, well, hold on, A is ripe for the taking. They can just push straight there. No one is in defense. Bomber still hasn't got there, so the CTs are going to be in close enough proximity to have a real go of this. The downside is the blocker's already made a move into back, but Frozen has found Poison. His position now compromised, 1-on-2. Bubble and blocker up against them. They have a Molotov and a flashbang. An incendiary for Frozen. Could all come down to timing. There is a crossfire being established in the truck. Frozen's going to connect 1 headshot. Surely Windigo aren't going to concede this one. Not quite. But for a moment, you begun to believe in the youngster of Frozen. Very nice try.
Such a labored win. I thought Windigo did so well in the 3-on-3, reading the round perfectly, getting that push through long, getting all the information on the A site, shuffling the bomb over. But then Frozen still almost wins the 1 versus 3, so you still break a sweat on one that you feel should have been more clean. Frozen just showing you a little bit of individual talent there. Everyone on Mousesports in double digits right now. They are looking so, so sharp for outfragging their opponents across the board. A couple of rounds left. Windigo are starting to show us a little bit of life, but Chris J with this push at short could be dangerous, but Bubble catches it. Mousesports trying to keep up the pressure. Windigo is starting to handle it a little bit better now.
This confidence now beginning to work against Mousesports. They've lost the first player in the last couple of rounds. The early trades have not been in their favor. Maybe hubris getting the better of them.
I think it's just intentional. They want to keep the pressure on Windigo. They don't want to give him space. They know if they do that, they can get exploded on. But Victor here does find that entry. Now it's all on Rops at B for now.
Finding his time, Victor, who was pummeled by Kerrigan, somehow survived with 2 HP. Gonna find a second. And Frozen and Voxic gonna need to save. 4 players able to buy in the next round. Wouldn't be a great buy at that, but it's more Kerrigan down at $750. Plus a 2v5 retake, never ideal. However, Ship's a step ahead of them. He's read the script. And he's there to break some dreams. Frozen gonna be able to get him in the back, but now the rest of the terrorists can be swarming. In fact, just Bubble, but that's all they needed. 3rd round.
Yeah, now that we're starting to see some of these short B exchanges go Windigo's way, now they're starting to finally be able to play into their style. They're starting to be able to get that initial space now. They're getting Victor out. He's starting to find those entries at B. They're starting to limit Rops' impact over at B. He's definitely been playing really, really well, but now they're starting to trade him out a little bit more efficiently. And as you noted, a part of it is just Mousesports trying to get away with a little bit extra, and they're starting to get battered away.
Just to clarify, 3rd round in a row, 4th in total for Windigo, and the last buy of this half.
This is the first time they've gotten Fountain all game, Vince.
I think so, without any confrontation. But in terms of this buy, I mean, they still have firepower.
Yep.
It's only Kerrigan that's dipping down into a lonely Desert Eagle. The nades may be a bit of an issue, though. Only 2 smokes in play.
Yeah, and Windigo are definitely going to go for A. They've already pulled their B player off, drifted him towards Connector. Everyone else here staging up over towards the bathrooms. So finally, Windigo got to play out a default into A control. It took it to the last round to do it, but they finally have the standard approach working out. But Kerrigan could still be a nuisance with this Deagle. He's finding a really good gap and a good timing.
Such a good read of the game, and he's going to be backing it up with headshots. Body's hitting the floor. But now Windigo will return the favor. Not for the first time, we're all even at 3 apiece. And now they're going to be battening down onto the A site. Frozen dealt with, leaving Rops and Chris J. Chris J chips in with 1, a second, looking for a 3rd, doesn't get it done, but he's not blocking down to 1 HP. A point-blank range headshot.
He's in a crater, Vince. Calling it.
Could you imagine? That's such an integral moment in this match. A 5th round would be massive for Windigo. He's faked as if he's gone B, now going to be going back up on A side. Rops
Yep.
doesn't have a HE, but does have a flashbang.
What if?
He's definitely heard this. Blocker's a dead man. Rop's solid positioning. You can understand why Blocker was making so much noise. He felt like he had to make a risky play with just 1 HP remaining, but it backfires.
Indeed it does, and so Mousesports, a dominant half against an undefeated team on Overpass. They don't care. They go up 11-4, and we will take a short break. When we come back, we'll be bringing you the rest of this first map, so stay tuned.
For a 10-5 scoreline, this has actually been pretty interesting. Windigo not quite down, not quite out, but they have a foundation to build off here, Dust. This could be a cracker.
Yep.
11-4, pardon me.
Yeah, I was trying to find a way to correct you that wasn't mean, but nothing came to mind. But you caught it yourself, so there you go.
I swear I can count, sometimes. So this second pistol, so incredibly important for Windigo.
That's definitely the right statement to make in a time like this, as Mousesports wasting no time putting some pressure up long A right now. All their force dedicated to this side of the map. We already see Windigo rotating, and Poison's found first blood.
Chip's going to be called upon next. Does deliver one fatal blow, but gets traded up pretty early on. However, Mousesports down to just one player, and it's going to be Frozen. We saw some very aggressive plays for him on the CT side. Did just land a beautiful flick dink onto Poison. With the Glock at that range, no, not the outright kill. Bomb down on long, under control from the CTs. It's hard to see an avenue that Frozen can navigate down to clutch this round, and Poison's going to close it in his face. So, big hurdle overcome from Windigo. I think it's safe to say that game is well and truly back on.
Certainly is. I mean, Mousesports should be taking a save here. I mean, they didn't get a bomb plant, so getting an early force buy. I think it'd be better if they just would have full buy on round 3, though I guess you do see some force buying on second round these days, and in fact, that's what they're going to do. Voxic's going to get the scout, Beagles on everyone else, armor pretty much across the board except for Voxic. A few pieces of utility. Again, gathering up over towards A.
Bit of shrapnel into Frozen. The rest of the team's pretty undeterred, but Bobbles MP9 ripping through heads, ripping through chests. Carrigan and Chris J, though, going to put their deagles to use. And these are some good trades from Mousesports, all things considered. And now a scout in the hands of Carrigan. Not necessarily known for his scouting ability.
Yeah, just a brawl over towards the party area. Leaves Kerrigan alone with the bomb and a scout and very low health. He probably is going to get a bomb plant here. Victor's pretty dedicated towards Long as teammates in the bathroom, so if Kerrigan quickly just goes for the plant, he'll get that extra cash, no problem. Okay, I like this. This is gutsy here. He's going for it all. He doesn't want just the plant, Vince. He wants the meat and the potatoes.
Greed is good. He has time to play with. He knows he has to take a gamble. He knows he has to roll the dice. One bullet away from death. Is he really about to fully bamboozle Windigo? He's going up onto A through B. Gonna catch this player in the back with a deagle. We saw a nightmare yesterday. He got CSGO'd fully. There's nothing wrong about that. Shank between the shoulder blades. Money in the bank, bomb planted, and an AUG for good measure. He's got the smoke. He can hold one of these angles away as he retreats. Now, the bomb's not planted for him. Victor doesn't have a kit. If he holds down on this, he's going to have to wait for 10 seconds. Carrigan's not buying it. He is holding position. He is taking all of the risks, and he will get the reward. What a play from Carrigan.
I love Kerrigan. What a guy. What a lad. You can't do nothing but cheese after that one. I can't blame you, Kerrigan. Jesus. You know what, I'll say this. I mean, obviously all the theatrics is great, but it was smart play all the way through. The way he maneuvered around. He could have easily just gone for the bomb plant being the money, but he decided to go for it. He decided to do something a little bit fancy, and it pans out. That's exactly the face I would have, too, after that happened to me.
I mean, that is the double whammy. Not only has he just pulled off a ridiculous clutch that should never have happened in a round where they only had deagles, additionally, Windigo needed to get some momentum built up on this half, and they've just been cut in half there. That is absolutely
quite literally
brutal. Yet their economy's dead, morale will be dead. They must be feeling awful.
Yeah, there's a certain pain you get in your lower stomach, and only a few things cause it, and that's certainly one of them, it feels like. We won't talk about the others. Did you see Mousesports now on AKs across the board, save for Chris J, who's still on just the Deagle. They're in their default. The new default is now Chris J playing connector. Everything else is what you'd expect. Rop still plays outside B, and Kerrigan, Frozen, and Foxic are going to be the main ones in control of finding space over at A. They're much more balanced than Windigo, by the way. They definitely aren't heavily reliant on B plays. They definitely can do it all. And Kerrigan really loves entering nowadays. He says that this is kind of what he wants to do for now because he feels like he's in good form and he wants to be next to Frozen and kind of being that veteran that's kind of helping him learn what to do and when. But he says at some point, Chris J might take over for him as an entry fragger if he feels that's what's necessary. So it's good that they're still keeping their options open, but so far this configuration can work pretty well as you see that they've already been able to get a fair amount of space on this A side. They had their connector covered.
Windigo going to take the initiative. 3-player stack on Long. They did force buy, but firepower really lacking. Poison narrowly misses out on the scout shot. A trade they're not going to expect a double stack, and Bubble punishes Voxic. Chris J eats a scout shot, and Carrigan round the side of Long. Bubble is going to be very confused as to what happened there. Of course, there are smokes down on the site, though. Nothing Windigo could really do about it. He's dead. Tried and tested Chris J on the receiving end. You could see what Rops was trying to do. He assumed he killed the first player and was looking for the second, but bit off more than he could chew.
Yeah, caught between two mines on that spray, but very nearly got them both. It could have easily gone the other way. But Windigo do get one. Really good setup over towards Long. They handled that push quite nicely. About as efficient as it can get as far as trading goes, and that's definitely going to put a little bit of a stop to Mousesports, whose money is now not going to be there. They do still have the hero AK on Rops, and Voxic's going to have the scout. So a little bit to work with, but Windigo certainly at the advantage when it comes to firepower in this.
Absolutely, we are in this seesaw of buys between the two teams now. Both economies rest on this round. Of course, even if Mousesports were to concede, if they take 3 or 4 weapons away from Windigo, they may be lulled into another force buy. So,
yep, it's very conditional on what happens next here, unless Mousesports just pull it off, which would you just feel too brutal for Windigo to handle at that point. They've already dealt with so much this game. How much can really happen before they finally break? Voxic and Poison going to exchange some damage with one another. Both still left standing, though, at the end. Bubble making a nice little play up Long. This could be a problem. Does indeed catch Kerrigan. That's a nice find. as they do fade back into more stable positions as Mousesports are looking to batter this A bomb site here shortly with what they have left.
Just one smoke, a flash, and a HE, though, on the approach. HE's been tossed in, does slam dunk onto Poison. Just shy of 40 seconds. Bubble, FAMAS, 1-for-1 trade. Not the ideal outcome. Time is dwindling. Blocker needs to hold his ground, and he's crumbled under the pressure of Mousesports. Victor, next up on the chopping block. Or could he become the executioner? Yes, he will. Triple spray, 7th round for Windigo.
Hero effort from Victor. He saved the day, the Guardian Angel for Windigo, because Mousesports were doing a great job approaching A. Their spacing was so good, how they peaked together. They were making it very difficult for Windigo to get a kill and get away with it without being traded. And obviously, if you can trade 1-for-1 as a terrorist, that's exactly what you need. Luckily for Windigo, Victor showed up and put a stop to it over at the truck, and now this is where the economy of Mousesports has fallen out. They're going to go for a double nade push onto B, though. Probably just maybe nade stack barrels or something like that and just try to run in. But they've eaten a lot from the nades of Windigo instead.
Yeah, that nade obliterated Frozen. Smacked up Chris J as well. Should be a formality from this point, just cleaning up the remaining straggling terrorists, and that's exactly what's came to fruition.
Yep.
Great news for Windigo's economy as well, not losing a single player in the process.
Yeah, very clean victory, no rebuying needed. And this is where Mousesports will start looking to get some purchases. No AWP for Voxic, but AKs across the board and a SIG for Chris J. He's very comfortable using that weapon. He's one of the guys who've really embraced the SIG next to Kerrigan and Elige. And I guess Nath uses it a fair amount as well, so it's starting to see more play. Look at this, though, a huge A push from Windigo. It's going to be a 1-4 on B, though, so Mousesports have seemingly got the perfect plan in place to bypass all of this nonsense.
Doing very similar to what Mousesports did prior rounds, and with Victor dying, Windigo have already lost B site. They're not really in a position to quickly retaliate either.
Just lost their rock, paper, scissors game, Vince. I mean, that's all I can really say. That was a great setup. If indeed Mousesports went for a default, then you could have fought it out over towards Fountain and then won the round, but instead Mousesports decided to go for something quick at B, and Windigo just happened to be out of place. It's a really unfortunate call. I mean, you can't really fault them too much for it. It's just the way the dice roll sometimes.
And it's such a strange idea to go for that rock, paper, scissors game, as you highlight. When you've got a full buy, full nades, you're in a pretty strong position.
I think they just really expected Mousesports to run a default. I think that, or at least they were going to see one person. And the thing is, even if, you don't, you can get to connector, be able to split B, but that one player that was on B, because Mousesports didn't use any utility as they pushed in, he had no idea that the next team was coming. If he did, again, they could have routed through connector. Maybe they still had a chance to fight short B and have a shot at the round, but Mousesports just kind of snuck their way in. And there you have it.
The gamble didn't pay off. However, with Windigo saving 4 guns and not losing a single weapon in the previous round, they're going to have a comfortable rebuy. Ships over $6,000. The rest of the team should be able to buy whatever happens here, but Mousesports getting closer to that finish line.
Indeed they are. Kerrigan running up connector solo, the rest outside Monster. They want to go for a quick B play. The thing is, the B plays for Mousesports are a lot better structured. Their utility is a lot better. So I expect them to have a lot more success than Windigo had through the bulk of the first half.
Chris J already out into the open with the SG, that one tap. A thing of beauty. Victor didn't know what hit him with a flashbang. Accompanied. Blocker on the barrels. It's where Rops is wreaking so much havoc. On the flip side, bomb's got down. That spray transfer. Sublime from Bubble. And now Frozen has to try and clutch. The bomb's on the wrong side of the smoke. Time's on his side. Poison very low. And he does have a Molotov still to his name. He's going to decide to push through here. It's going to pay off for him. 1 bullet left required, but it's Poison that puts it down range, and Windigo, they are going to pick it up, but it is at great cost to their economy.
Yeah, Chris J had a nice little entry, but I think they missed their Molotov on barrels, and I think a couple of their nades actually missed as well. So Windigo were still able to kind of feel pretty comfortable and just lock it down. Really efficient trading there from Windigo. That's all you can say. Not a bad play from Mousesports. Again, they had one missed Molotov you could fault them for, but just one of those things where the trading game just didn't go your way. So good fight from Windigo. They're starting to put this game in a respectable score line. They're starting to get on the heels of Mousesports and perhaps look towards a tie. Full buy from both sides again. Still no AWP from Voxic has appeared on this T side. Kerrigan initially doubles up connector, but now will start falling back a little bit. So that's kind of a default for Mousesports, but I'm not quite sure what Kerrigan wants to do. He's kind of the one variable that isn't in place just yet. Now he does begin to gather up with this team.
Yeah, just feeling mid out, of course. Previously, Windigo did stack there with 4 players, which gave them a free B hit after Victor died, so
yeah,
maybe still fresh in the back of their memory.
So about as default as it gets now for Mousesports. Frozen and Kerrigan, that entry duo, pairing up to try to get into the bathrooms. They actually start floating Frozen off, though. They left Kerrigan here by himself to be kind of an aggressive lurk. Or he might even just go through connector. So it seems like it is going to be another B play, but Kerrigan trying to put a smoke on the A side to kind of keep that in place, which is so pivotal because you already saw a double long A setup from Windigo. So that smoke on A just further makes them want to commit to this, which makes the B bomb side a little bit more vulnerable because the rotates are a little bit further away.
Molotov just in time, but they're going to be pushing through and Kerrigan tagged and fragged, but Voxic and Kerrigan also chipped in with kills. So B site again is going to fall. Windigo, though, holding it down with Poison's ult. But has been left wanting, and it's just kill after kill, tumbling in Mousesports' favor. Windigo seem to not really have a great grasp over the B site here, Dust. It does seem to be a weakness.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that was working in their favor is there's no smoke heaven, so Poison actually had free run at the AWP and actually did pop off a kill, but that's the only thing that went their way on the B side. Again, Kerrigan did a great job putting that smoke at A at the right time. Of course, he couldn't know that they were doing a double stack at long A, but his smoke was so big because of it. Also, the other big thing that Mousesports did better, I think, than Windigo is I think their spacing's better. The way that they synced up their push off short and Monster were perfect because there was a player in between both. And when you're that CT playing in between both, unless you're getting good support from barrels to watch Monster, or you have someone sidewalk or heaven helping your short, you're going to get caught between two minds and have to make a decision. And he made a decision to push towards short and get a kill. That's great. But now Mouse perfectly are able to crossfire you out. And then once you do that, you're starting to get headway into the B bomb site. Unless Poison goes off with the op from heaven, you're going to win the round. And great entry work from Chris J and company onto the B side. Now they're just one away from map point and stealing away Windigo's pick, dealing them their first ever loss on land on Overpass in 8 games played.
They have no timeouts left either, Dust, so it's do or die. Backs against the wall. Will they come out swinging? Victor with a Desert Eagle. Using 3 of his allotted 7 rounds in the magazine. Block his MP9. Comes out ahead, and the smoke's being deployed. Mousesports have been kept at bay. Try as they may, Windigo holding on this round, but it's starting to slip away from them again. Rops still alive, but not for much longer. They're actually lined up for ships. That double kill came out of nowhere. And hey, Windigo, they've made the timeout work.
Yeah, really good job there by ships just surviving on the barrels. There was no Molotov for Mousesports to push him out. Rops had a pretty good read that he was there and started to fade back and try to get position, but then Chips just starts spamming his teammate. Rops feels like he needs to help, and then they wind up lining up. So Windigo now at 10, and Mousesports' money is getting low. So this is starting to get a little bit interesting now, Vince. I think the pressure's starting to mount just a little bit on Mousesports. And Poison, that's a nice way to open a round. I feel like that's one of the few op picks he's really had that early in a round. Had a really good rotation through connector last time.
Rob's not far away from giving a free haircut across the blocker. There is a scout in play for Voxic. Still yet to see him with the AWP, I believe, on this
They've been running
side.
this hero AK on Rops and scouts it up a couple of times. I think that from talking to Kerrigan, he really likes Rops' read on the game when it comes to timing. So rather than put an AK on entry fragger's hands who might just run in and die due to a bad angle, you give it to Rops who can play off of timing and perhaps find you something that way using his intuition.
Well, let's see if he can use it to strong effect. Voxic certainly can. With his scout. Money well spent. And they got on top of this. Bubbles should not be losing that trade.
He shot so early, Vince, and it just let Frozen know exactly where he was. He wasn't even entirely sure, but the spray gave it away. And Frozen's dangerous with the Deagle, man. His aim is so precise. Blocker at least finally silences him, but the damage has been done. There's still 3 terrorists up attacking B.
Victor's been plucked out from the scout ship where he got the last 2 kills in the last round. Not able to rinse and repeat. It's all been a bit of a wash here for Windigo. Blocker, M4 by his side against the world. Rops and Chris J stand against him post-plant, one of which is going to be going short. That's Robson. He's the last man standing. He doesn't have Molotovs, but does have 2 flashbangs. Blocker doesn't have a kit, though. No.
And no smoke to block out.
Oh, we're in this nightmare scenario again for Windigo. He's been spotted. Rops! Is there even enough time for this? It's going to be very close. I think he's got it. I don't understand what Rops was going for there.
Just wanted to be sure. That's why I didn't say anything yet. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I think he wanted to jiggle peek and just buy more time and just kind of got caught in awkward space as he was trying to escape. Either way, some nice shots from Voxic along the way to at least get them the bomb plant and put them in a winnable 1v1 situation. Just a good move from Blocker here, though. Catching Chris J so early was definitely helpful. Yeah, I think Ross just didn't want to get stuck sandbags, so he tried to jump across and just got busted for it. And now Mousesports have even less to work with in this round. So you feel like Windigo should be finding 12 in just a few moments.
Assuming the pistols don't strike down Windigo. Ships has been culled pretty early on. Looking to administer the sledgehammer to the chest of Mousesports. Strength in numbers approach. B site has the target on it. Victor and Blocker are the 2 defenders. Superior firepower. They're certainly outmanned and outgunned too. It's pistols that are coming out ahead. Bubble and Poison scratching their heads, wondering what just happened to the rest of their team. There's going to be a counter boost also implemented from the T's. And Frozen could spot Poison over. Just for the P250, not going to yield the kill, but he knows where one of these last 2 remaining CTs are. I don't think Bubble has any interest. I'm pretty sure he's on short A. So they're setting up for exit frags. Mousesports, with one of the worst buys we've seen on this map, have somehow made it stick.
I couldn't tell you how either, Vince, to be honest with you. They didn't have any utility. They had 1 pot flash and 1 smoke grenade, and somehow still won out. The only thing I can say is Windigo's barrel player only had a UMP, so he didn't really have the best rifle to be dealing with the rush, I guess, but even still, they expect a little bit more. That's a rough way to allow Mousesports a map point. That's definitely not the round you thought it would happen. I mean, we were sitting here chatting that 12 was on the horizon. Certainly looked that way. Mousesports had different plans. Now they could put this away. Voxic will have an AWP, I think, for the first time on the T side. He's had to scout a few times. Other times he's had to settle for just an AK or SIG. But now he'll have, as Black calls it, the banger, the Zoom banger.
Well, that sledgehammer certainly breaching with surgical precision in round 26. Well, round 27, be where this map is wrapped up. It's looking good. Frozen with the AK. Catches ships out in the open.
That's a questionable challenge to go with a CZ at Monster Tunnel and think you're going to come out in the better end. The CZ is something you want to be having a close angle with. You want to hide in the corner of Monster or something like that. Instead, he just gives away a 1-for-3. Kerrigan catches Poison out aggressively at Fountain. The dominoes are starting to fall, Vince. It's not looking good for Windigo at all.
They can't win a duel right now, Dust. Everything is going against them. These are just 1v1 straight up Angels that are going in favor of Mousesports, similar to that last round with pistols.
Yeah, now the bomb's shuffling over towards the A side. Everybody on Windigo is sitting here at short B. They have to gamble, and unfortunately for them, it's not looking good. Rops may even be able to backstab them.
This is where Kerrigan is self-aware enough to know that they have hit B many times, so go A. Realize that stack is likely going to be on B side. Chris J has found them.
He also went long instead of through mid, knowing that connector could be a problem, so that's another good read to make sure the bomb gets to A a little bit more safely. We are seeing Blocker and Victor fight back just a little bit, though. It's still at a massive disadvantage, and now Rops is coming through to help out.
Voxic is flanking the flankers, though. And even if Victor can get a kill, his days are numbered. He's wrapping around the back, not required. Frozen is there instead. And Mousesports will strike out Windigo on their choice of map, with Nuke coming up next.
That's a tough one to swallow if you're Windigo, to lose on your home map, the map you're undefeated on. You were 8-0 coming into this game. You're beating teams like Navi, Fnatic, you know, some of the best teams in the world. Yet, Mousesports, kind of a fresh lineup that haven't really shown us much lately on Overpass, haven't played it that often, are able to deal them their first blow. And that's a tough one with Nuke coming up, which to me, I don't think either team are super comfortable on it. I mean, I think Windigo's only just recently started playing it. Again, with Mousesports, I'm not really certain what their comfort levels are just yet. It seemed like Kerrigan knew that Nuke was going to probably happen, and he seemed like he was prepared from chatting with them earlier. So this is looking rough for Windigo, that's for sure.
Well, you think with an IGL of Kerrigan's caliber, they're not going to be going into Nuke unprepared. You expect they're going to have some strats in play. This is going to be a rough one for Windigo. I can maybe see this being it now.
Yeah, I think Overpass was kind of the one that you needed. That was your home map that you needed to defend to give yourself a chance in the series. And with Mousesports taking it away really convincingly, I think the scoreline itself is almost deceiving because it felt like it was more dominant than what the scoreboard reflected. But either way, we'll have to see how it's going to go in just a few moments. But first, a quick break.